Okay. Hello, Aeryon. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, all well. Thank you so much for accepting my invite to be on my podcast. And I just loved one of the sessions that you conducted recently about women's health, and I just felt tempted to invite you on my podcast and talk about women's health, especially in perimenopausal years.
Yes.
So thank you so much, and I would just first want you to introduce yourself to our audience and help them understand how are you helping women deal with feminine issues, perimenopausal issues, and what is there for you? Like, what are you offering with your brand?
Well, I own a female-focused supplement brand, so we're based out of Vancouver, BC. I've been in the industry for about 20 years now. It's called Aeryon Wellness, so it's spelled a little different. It's Aeryon, but it is pronounced Aeryon. And we have everything from hormonal support, sleep support, vaginal support, muscle support. But a big part of the passion is to educate women that it's not just, there is no magic pill. I wish I had a magic pill. My boric acid would probably be one to help with yeast infections, but that's about it. But that you really have to put in our brand's 5 pillars to really obtain that sustainable health and wellness, whether you're in perimenopause, pre-perimenopause, or beyond. And our 5 pillars are the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, daily movement, nutrition, and then lastly, supplementation. So how we translate that message is through QR codes on our labels. And those come with a complete wellness program for every single product. And it was this technology that got me on Dragon's Den back in 2022. And I walked away with 3 offers. And so when I speak and I travel across Canada, I did 38 seminars last year. We really use that mission, empowering women with holistic health, with using these 5 pillars to help educate women so they can actually take the tools they need to find sustainable health and wellness. And I think it's more imperative now than ever, because I think there's so much information that's coming at us constantly about what we should be doing or what we should be taking to have this sustainable health and wellness. So if we can give women a guide to find that, then that's part of the mission. That's what I'm really using Aeryon Wellness as a vehicle for.
Perfect. So that's amazing. And I think the one thing that you just mentioned, which just clicked me, was it's not just about supplements. It's few pillars coming in together, which holistically work on feminine health, right? So okay. So before I get into my crucial questions, I would just very keenly would want to know what made you, specifically focus on women's health and start a brand which is especially focused on feminine health. I mean, they're very rare brands, I believe, for women. I mean, they're a lot in terms of skincare and outside care and all of that, but especially focusing on hormones and feminine health, they're very rare women-led brands. So what made you start such a brand?
Well, for one, I'm a woman, so that helps. And there wasn't really anything on the market that appealed to me that had the clinical doses that I was looking for. And I mean, if you look at the supplement industry in Canada, at least, I mean, it's probably less than 5 women who own supplement companies. The majority is male-owned companies.
Wow.
And I wanted to create a company that was for women, by women, that really understood what we were going through. So that was another key part of it. And I just think that we are underserved in the sense of, health and wellness and research as well. And so if we're able to support women, especially I think women kind of feel a little lost, especially when it comes to perimenopause. I started doing my seminar, Navigating Perimenopause, 2.5 years ago. And it was before kind of the perimenopause conversation was really taking off. I remember when I first did my very first seminar, I actually separated the words. I did peri-menopause. And then now, of course, perimenopause. So it was before anybody was really talking about it. And I have actually on June 3rd, I'm launching my workbook called Navigating Perimenopause. So we're doing a book launch on June 3rd with this whole
amazing.
Which has
we look forward to your book for sure.
Meal plans, workouts. We use our 5 pillars and lots of education about what's going on during this pivotal time in a woman's life. But I think all of those are reasons why I really wanted to start a female-focused brand, because there's nobody speaking to women who is a woman.
So, and that's the need of the hour. I mean, why not be preventive than look for solutions later, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, now that you just mentioned that there was very less information about perimenopause a few years back when you started speaking about it, I believe still women need to be educated about perimenopause. Everybody knows menopause, but not many women know menopause. So that would be my first question, starting with the basics for somebody who's listening to this podcast and not much aware of perimenopause. How would you explain what is perimenopause? And especially, it's a journey. It's not like a one. It's not like one problem or a one disease. It's a journey. So, how should women start to relate their shifts in their body and in their mind, and relating it to perimenopausal symptoms at this as they get into like their late 30s or 40s, as and when the symptoms arise?
Yeah, I mean, perimenopause starts late 30s, 40s. And I think a lot of women, there's so much more conversation about it now. The past year, it's just really exploded, which is wonderful, right? There's lots of women talking about it. But I still think a lot of women are in the dark. They're not understanding why all of a sudden possibly, they have more anxiety. They're not sleeping as well. Maybe their periods are a lot heavier. Or they're becoming more sporadic. And a lot of that comes to that hormonal fluctuation that ends up happening. During perimenopause, estrogen levels can sometimes be 20 or 30% higher and drop. So it's kind of like you're going through hormonal chaos. And then you've got progesterone levels that kind of start to dissipate, and that can really lead to more anxiety and issues with sleep. I think being really aware of where you're at is important. Tracking your cycle, that's one of the things we talk about in the new book I'm launching, but ways in which you can track your cycle and really start to look at symptoms when you start becoming more symptomatic. Having conversations with your doctor or health practitioner. I know there is, here in BC, I'm lucky enough I have a doctor, but I've met so many women that really struggle to find a good doctor to work with right now in Canada. So if you can,
there are doctors who are specifically dealing with the perimenopausal issues.
There definitely are naturopaths who are specialized in that. There's, the menopause clinics. There's one here. There's a women's health clinic. There's one in Vancouver.
Oh, that's interesting.
That deal just specifically with women with perimenopause and menopause. And really also I think women need to also open up their eyes and open up their minds a lot more to hormone therapy. So menopausal hormone therapy, MHT, which would be estradiol and progesterone. I think I'm a big believer in using all dualities. I mean, I have a natural supplement company and I use everything. So I take progesterone myself, and I will be on estradiol once my periods stop or they cease to kind of come on a regular basis. So I'm a big believer in using whatever you can to make yourself feel the best you possibly can. And I think a lot of that comes from having informed discussions with your practitioner, right? So a lot of the time, especially now, we rely on stuff from Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're getting your sources from. And I think we need to have more educated conversations with doctors and with physicians that are working with you who understand what you're going through, having your hormone levels checked, going and doing a full panel so you know exactly where you're starting at. And working with somebody along the way to make sure that transition is an easier one, and that you're also going to be able to thrive when in your 70s, right? And getting informed also about hormone replacement therapy, MHT, menopausal hormone therapy.
This is one thing I would really want to delve a little deeper into, maybe a little later in the session, because a lot of people are becoming aware of HRT, but they still don't know whether or not it is the safe option for them.
It is. I mean, it is. The research now is showing it is the safe option, but again, that is a conversation. I mean, I'm not an endocrinologist or a doctor, but that is a conversation that you'd want to have with your physician. I know I will be taking it. My mother, who was 49, started hormone therapy, and she's 74 and still takes it and is thriving. So I think that the Women's Initiative Study, Health Initiative Study, did kind of a disservice to us way back when. And so now the research is showing that it is there, and it is something that definitely can be taken if also too you are experiencing a really symptomatic transition. So
Okay, so I'll come back to this question back again with a few more additional questions around it, but I would just want to go in sequence. So, okay, so now, Aeryon, one thing for the women who are in their perimenopausal years, who don't understand these are perimenopausal symptoms, and they need to focus on themselves a little way more than what they had been doing in the past. And so many women I know that with such symptoms coming in, the first reaction would be seeking a medical solution, maybe a hormonal pill or whatever they come across in the medicine world, without knowing that these are the symptoms coming as a part of natural aging process. Now, when we talk of these symptoms, because they look at it as symptoms, most of the women are seeking those solutions. But we also know that internally a lot of parameters are responsible for such symptoms to arise. For example, your blood sugar levels not in balance, your insulin spikes coming up, your liver being more toxic. So, what are these internal parameters what is it that women should look into when they go internal to find out why these symptoms are happening to them, rather than thinking them as just solutions and seeking those medical treatments?
Well, I think no matter what, I mean, you have to look at kind of like our 5 pillars, right? Thoughts you think, friends keep daily movement, nutrition, supplementation. And supplementation can be natural, and supplementation can also be through the medical community, whatever works for you. But I think you really have to look at what you're doing day to day. What are your healthy habits? You can't take, even if you are taking hormone therapy, you can't out MHT a crappy lifestyle, right? And I think when we're in our younger years, when you're in your 20s, you can get away with kind of eating junk and maybe not working out and not taking care of your body, maybe not sleeping as much, and go out late nights and it's not going to hit you as hard. But as we get older, it definitely, I mean, I know I can't drink the same way I did in my 20s and get up the next morning.
Even I have
right?
a same
So
experience. Yeah.
I have to really plan my partying going forward. And so I think in that we have to really look at how do we want to be in our 70s. And so in that, my big thing for women, one, the thoughts you think, that internal story and that dialogue that's constantly at play every single day. Is it, they have that nasty girl that's telling you can't accomplish anything, and this is just the way you are, and it's your genetics and that whole story, shifting that, right, to be more optimistic and also be living more gratitude. That's a huge thing. And even with hot flashes, I mean, cognitive behavioral therapy is used for libido. It's used for hot flashes. It's used for, life in general, right? What you're viewing your life as, and that story, that narrative you're constantly telling yourself is very impactful. Looking at that, thoughts you think, friends you keep, who are you around? Are you around people who are motivated, who are taking care of their health and wellness? Or are you around people who really don't care and who are eating crappy foods and not working out or smoking or drinking? That's going to obviously impact how everything is going to translate as you get older. Thoughts you think, friends you keep, daily movement. I say this in my seminars all the time. I sell natural supplements. I love them. I take them. But what movement is the best thing you can do for yourself, right? So lifting weights is one of the best things you can ever do for yourself. And I always say that I'm like, I am here to sell supplements, obviously, but there's one thing you can take away from my conversation tonight. If you start lifting weights, this will change your life. It will change your life if you start lifting weights and going to the gym and putting your own mask on first. And I think as women, that's what we tend to do. We take care of everybody else around us. We have to put our own mask on first and start taking care of ourselves. And a big part of that is making sure that we're moving our body, at least lifting weights 3 times a week, right? I mean, the research is there. The more muscular you are, the longer you live. And I know I want to age powerfully. That is my whole goal. And so in that, how do I age powerfully? I train and I lift heavy weights. I do cardio. I eat right. Like I do all of these things together, right? And I also take a little bit of hormone therapy, and I also take Reclaim, which helps with perimenopause. And I take, anti-inflammatories, and I take protein. I take all these different things together to really help make sure that I'm, in my 70s and 80s and I'm thriving. So movement, nutrition, and then of course supplementation. But I think all those things together. But one of the big things I can say to your listeners, if you're not working out, if you're not lifting weights, that is the one thing you should be doing. If you're going to take one thing away, start moving your body. Right. And then buy supplements, buy mine. But moving your body.
Definitely. I'm sure I'm just going through some of your supplements, and some of them look really promising, especially the one with the boric acid.
Yeah, so that's in a way, that is our vaginal suppository. So we were the first ones in Canada to have a kit. So we won Innovative Product of the Year for that one. And so boric acid helps with yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis. So our vaginal area should be a 3.5. It should be really acidic. So once it starts becoming more alkaline, if it goes to like a 4.5, then that can be a yeast infection where it's itchy, discharge, uncomfortable. It's no fun.
So what makes it go from 3.5 to 4.5?
I'll get into that. And then if it goes up to 5.5, so if it goes higher, it's not itchy and discharge and uncomfortable, but there's a smell, and that's still no fun. And so that's bacterial vaginosis. So boric acid is borax and minerals combined together. And when you vaginally insert it, it actually brings your acidity level back down. And we're always taught that we want to be alkaline. We want to be, greens and having it, but not in our vaginal area. We want to be very acidic. So some of the things that can cause that is unprotected sex. Male sperm is a 9. So they're very alkaline. Like water is 7, and we're supposed to be 3.5. So they're supposed to be very acidic. So male sperm, if you're having unprotected sex, can throw off your pH. Wearing damp clothing after you've worked out can be another indication. Women going through menopause can also, or actually when you're pregnant, can affect your estrogen levels. And it's estrogen and lactic acid together that really help keep that environment nice and acidic. So when your estrogen levels are all over the place, by perimenopause, etc., that can cause that pH level to also rise. food, your gut microbiomes. There's a lot of different things that can lead to that. But using Up and Away, it's the only magic pill I have. So everything else takes a lot of other work.
Boric acid.
Work to kind of make, get the results you want and have that sustainable health and wellness. But our boric acid is definitely, that is my magic pill. You can use one and it will make everything really nice and acidic. And if you have a yeast infection, you can use it more than once.
Okay, so no, very nicely mentioned, because I think I've gone through the same issue in my perimenopausal years, and I did visit Canada India a few months back, and I had to visit a gynecologist because I was not understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, but to my surprise, nobody ever recommended me boric acid. So
well, they'll put you on, the thing is they put you, I mean, I had the same issue. That's one of the reasons why the product exists. Because I was having issues and I was kept going on antibiotics, and I've been in this industry for 20 years. So I knew, I was like, I can't be going on antibiotics. And in 2016, I finally asked my doctor to make me see a gynecologist. When I walked in, she's like, boric acid. I'm like, what is this? And I drove from compounding unit to compounding pharmacy. I couldn't find it anywhere. I finally got some. And then in 2022, I was driving over the Lionsgate Bridge, and I had this, all of a sudden I kind of get these, I don't know if they're from the universe or what, when my product names come to me, but I just had this like download of like, is anybody making boric acid? And I knew it was over the counter, and I pulled over in Stanley Park and we Googled and it wasn't. So we're the first ones to really come to market in retail. I mean, it had been years ago, but people had taken it off the market. And so we launched it and won Innovative Product of the Year for that one. So
yeah, amazing. I mean, definitely a must try. And this is one thing that I'm definitely going to try from your range for sure.
It works like I don't. Oh, and this is the other thing too, when you're traveling. So if you're flying for long hauls, flying to India, when I fly from Vancouver, because that's where I'm based, out to Toronto, I always just insert one just to keep things nice and acidic, because you're sitting for a long time, and you're sitting like, because somebody said to me, well, I sit at my office desk all day. I'm like, yeah, but you're getting up, you're getting water, you're moving, you have like a bigger chair. When you're sitting on a plane, you're usually sitting cross-legged for hours at end, right?
Yeah.
And that's moist. And so in that, using it when you travel, it's a game changer, just as a prevention.
That's a nice tip.
Yeah.
That's a nice tip. Great. Thank you. Okay. So coming back to my, sequence of questions, I would again want to go back to the blood sugar levels, insulin levels, liver health. What's your take on importance of maintaining, balanced insulin levels, clean state of your liver, and what are some of the tips and tricks that you would recommend to make sure that at the fundamental level we do everything so that there's minimal imbalance in these feminine hormones, estrogen and progesterone, and after that, if you have, then of course there are supplements and treatments available.
Yeah, I mean, managing insulin and blood sugar is very important. Obviously, I mean, that can wreak havoc on not only your hormone levels. I mean, if we look at polycystic ovarian syndrome, right, a lot of that tends to be from women who are dealing with blood sugar issues. So blood sugar is definitely important, especially as we start going through perimenopause. We start losing more muscle, right? After the age of 30, we lose 3 to 8% per decade. So when you're losing muscle is insulin sparing. So when you're losing muscle, your body's ability to become more insulin resistant is increasing. So the biggest thing you can do is lift weights and create muscle tissue. That's one of the biggest things you can do. And in that, having protein with every meal. And I mean, my algorithm at least is set to that, but I mean, everybody's talking about protein. I've always had a very protein forward nutrition plan for myself. So whenever I'm eating, it's always, where's my protein first, right? My vegetables are second and my carbs are third. So my carbs are my smaller portion, but it's vegetables and protein. Protein helps balance your blood sugar. So when you're getting up in the morning, having a bowl of cereal, you actually want to have some sort of protein with it. So if you're going to have a smaller bowl of cereal, making sure you're having at least 30 grams of protein, 25 to 30 grams minimum. And that's going to help stabilize blood sugar along with fiber as well, right? 25 grams of fiber a day. But you want about 100 grams of protein throughout the day. If you're having a harder time tracking that, because that's going to support blood sugar.
Is that with exercising, the 100 grams that you're mentioning?
Even if you're not, you want 100 grams of protein, because what the protein does, that your body takes the protein, the amino acids from protein, right? There's the complete amino acid profile, the 9 essential in protein. Your body takes that and creates more muscle tissue. Now it's better if you're working out, obviously even 3 times a week would be great. If you're doing some weight bearing exercises or some bands that are actually really giving you some resistance, that's going to help create that muscle tissue. That's going to support type 2 diabetes, prevention of type 2 diabetes. And then making sure having your protein and having your fiber every single day. And if you're having a hard time tracking it, I often suggest people to download the MyFitnessPal app. And then you can start tracking. I'm not saying track your food and get, crazy with it, but even tracking for a couple of weeks, you can begin to understand how much that 25 grams of protein looks like with every meal.
Yeah.
And when you go into the MyFitnessPal app, you're probably going to have to adjust it because they usually have you at like 0.8 grams per kilo. So
Yeah, this is what my next question was. What is this bus around, 0.8 grams per kg of body weight, and somebody who's like 70 kgs or 60 kgs, so that becomes almost half the quantity that you are recommending. So
what you're going to want to do is you're going to go the protein level based on where you want to be. So for myself, like, I don't even know. I mean, honestly, I do probably 150 to 100. I don't know how much I weigh. I don't weigh myself. But I probably do 150 grams of protein a day. I do a high amount of protein. Everything I have is protein.
But I think you're high on exercising as well, if I'm not wrong, right?
I do exercise. Yeah, I do exercise. I lift quite a bit, but in the morning time, I don't have one egg. And this is what I tell women. This is how you're going to hit your 30 grams. I have one egg and then I do half a cup of egg whites. So I'm doing 30 grams at that beginning meal, right? My lunch would be a chicken breast with a salad. My dinner would be, either a steak. I'm a meat eater, obviously, but protein, and then my veg and carb then would be more that's how I kind of balance things out, or how I would eat. But protein is going to help you balance that blood sugar. And there's also amazing supplementation out there. We have a product called So Harmonious that helps with balancing blood sugar if you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. We have the myoinositol in there that's clinically shown to help support polycystic ovarian syndrome. And what that basically means is your body's not ovulating. A lot of that is due to the androgens, and it's also due to the fact your blood sugar is imbalanced. So this product really helps support blood sugar. It also helps immunity, helps gut health. It's a fantastic product. It's a powdered formula. It tastes like butterscotch. I make So Harmonious ice cream all the time with my Ninja. Wow. Fantastic. So I think there's natural supplements you can take, but one of the best things you can do is food, right? Nutrition, really looking at nutrition and movement. It's the 5 pillars. So nutrition and movement, and then you can have supplementation as well that is there to support you. But if you're eating like crap and you're not working out and just relying on supplements, the results are not going to be as fast as if you throw all of these things into play, right? And that's why we have these 5 pillars, because we know if you put them together, that's when you're going to find the results that you really are looking for. Right.
Yeah. So the supplement that you just mentioned for PCOS, what are some visible changes that a person or a female can experience, and like the results starts to show up in what duration? Is it like?
So we've had, it depends on the person, right? We're all very unique and very different. It depends if the person is also following some sort of nutrition plan. As I mentioned, in all of our products, we have a little QR code on the front bottle, and you scan that takes you to a complete program. So the one with So Harmonious has a meal balance, like blood sugar balancing meal plan in there to support women with polycystic ovarian syndrome or anybody who's experiencing imbalanced blood sugar. So one of the symptoms, or one of the byproducts of taking our product, is women have noticed they start to ovulate. So the biggest one is getting their period, right? Because polycystic ovarian syndrome, you're not ovulating, you're not getting your period on a regular basis. So women get their periods for the first time and have it on a regular 28-day cycle, which is amazing, right? So that's one of the biggest indications women get from it. But as with everything, or with mostly all supplements, if you actually put the lifestyle component into place, you'll get there a lot faster. So it just depends on what the person's doing, right? So that's the, I've had people message and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. I had results right away. And then someone like, I haven't seen the results yet. And so the question is, okay, what are you doing otherwise? What are your lifestyle habits? And then when we kind of can look at that, then we can say, okay, this is why, you're not, you need to look at your nutrition, you need to look at your protein, you need to look at your fiber, how's your gut operating, all of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Great. So what's your take on liver health for perimenopausal years, and any tips that you have that a female should follow to make sure that her liver is supporting her during those years?
Yeah, I mean, our liver is our mother organ, right? It's our largest organ inside our body. We want to make sure we're obviously taking care of her because she's taking care of us. And during perimenopause and menopause, our hormones, as I mentioned, are in that hormonal chaos. So not only is our liver responsible for all the toxins that we are encountering every single day and filtering those out, but it's also responsible for those 20 to 30% more estrogen levels or hormone levels that we have going on in our body. So, I mean, supporting our liver with cruciferous vegetables, looking at what we're eating is really important. Broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, all those things are all going to support our liver, help with estrogen metabolism, whole foods. We have a product called Reclaim. I take Reclaim every single day. In this product, this is our perimenopause and PMS product. So my daughter, who's 16, who just left for school, she takes Reclaim and I take Reclaim. So the beauty about this product is if you are a mother, or even if you're not, I'm going through my second puberty, because that's what perimenopause is called. She's going through first puberty. So, acne, moods. I mean, I guess I can't say I can heal her moods with Reclaim because she is 16 years old, but in that it's going to help with estrogen metabolism. So as I mentioned, I'm perimenopause, so my hormones are kind of all over the place. So what that does is the ingredients we have in this product not only support your liver, we have calcium deglucarate in there. That helps support your liver during this process, right? To help filter out all the toxins. We also have green tea extract in there to stabilize blood sugar. We just talked about the importance of blood sugar. We have broccoli sulforaphane, which cruciferous vegetables bind estrogen, help your body metabolize it. We have DIM in there to balance estrogen. We have lion's mane in there for memory and mood. History. I think there's 10 or 12 ingredients in there. It's one of the newer formulas on the market. There's been a lot of formulas on the market for probably 10 plus years, and they were great back in the day. But ours is kind of a new revamped model with using extracts. And it has made a profound difference in my perimenopause journey. And I've had thousands of women tell me the same thing, where they find their moods are more stable. They're kind of back on that 28-day cycle. I still get a cycle, and I'm 51 years old. Every 28 days, I get my period. And I want
amazing.
As long as I possibly can. You hear women all the time be like, I want to get rid of my period. I'm like, no, you want to keep it as long as possible. So in that 28 days, I'm regular, which is nice. It helps with breast pain. It can help with, we've had ladies who have breast cysts, and they've actually dissipated taking Reclaim. So it's an incredible product. And especially young girls who are PMSing too. So cramps, acne, all that stuff. It's a really fantastic product.
And
so
young as how many years old?
So according to Health Canada, we have to say 18 and up. My daughter is 5'9" and taller than a lot of women. And so I think when I tell this to my retailers, because my products are available in stores all across Canada, when you have a mother coming in looking for something for PMS support for a young girl, they can simply tell them, this owner of this company has a 16-year-old, her daughter takes this product. And I think if a parent is looking for something more of a natural solution, because the options are, if you go into a doctor and if your daughter's really going through a lot of PMS issues as well, they'll be more prone to put them on birth control to balance hormones. And I am not against birth control if it's for that reason. If your daughter's going to be sexually active, obviously you want to have something to prevent that and be responsible. But if it's for hormone balancing, I think we can look at something a little bit more natural, and that's supporting their liver, right? And also looking at the stress and looking at the xenoestrogens in their environment. What's their skin makeup, cleaners, all that kind of stuff. Are using, heavy duty detergents when you're washing clothes and drying clothes, looking at the xenoestrogens in your environment as well. I think those are all important. And then having a really good supportive product like Reclaim. But with Health Canada, I have to say 18 and up. For myself as a mother, I would much rather give my daughter Reclaim than getting her started on the birth control to balance her hormones.
So I simply asked that because my younger daughter, who will be turning 13, has severe PMS issues like pain and cramps and all of that. So I was just wondering if this is something that can work for her.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, we need to look at as well is during, this is something, because I do have a seminar on periods, but when we're first starting our period, I mean, there's some months we'll miss our periods. Because our body just beginning to kind of go through this process, right? They're kind of like, they're the beginning and we're at the end. Like we're missing periods, and that's why it's second puberty is what perimenopause is.
It's the same pattern. That's the same pattern going on.
Right? We're just on the opposite end of things. So, I mean, it would just depend on what your preference would be. So that's kind of what I have to leave it as. I can't be like, give it to your 13-year-old because it's
of course, I understand
that. But I know for myself, if Michaela was going through that, I probably would give her Reclaim. Like that would be my choice as a parent, right? So, but I think most parents coming into a natural health store or looking for natural health options are there because they don't want to necessarily go down the pharmaceutical road, at least not yet.
Right.
Especially if it's not necessarily for birth control, it's for hormone.
Actually.
Yeah. And at the same time, if the natural supplementation doesn't work, that's why we have the medical community, right? So if it's something that they have to, if it's, that substantial that it's not supporting them and it's not helping them, then definitely go see her.
Of course, I mean, you always have a second choice for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it too. We're very blessed to live in this country, so we have those options.
Actually. Great. So coming back to my next question, I'll go back to nutrition now. We've talked about protein, but apart from protein, what do you think are the other nutritional or supplementation requirements for a female who's going through perimenopause?
Well, everybody should be taking a B complex. I think that's essential. Magnesium. I take magnesium on a regular basis. I take bisglycinate. Anti-inflammatory. I take, what I tend to do is, because I eat a pretty well-rounded nutritional diet. I mean, that's the big, we are what we eat, right? Our
Yeah,
body's going to
absolutely.
react on what we're
Yeah,
eating. So if you're giving it crappy food, you can't put like a low-grade gasoline into a beautiful Ferrari and expect it to run the same. You're using premium gasoline. So look at yourself as a premium vehicle. Give yourself really great food. Yes, every now and then you're going to want to have maybe some wine, have some chocolates, and have some treats, but really trying to look at the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your nutrition and what you're following is really good, solid nutrition, and 20% you can enjoy yourself. So protein, healthy whole food, omegas are big ones too, omega-3s. I use, as I said, I have an anti-inflammatory. I take omega-3s. I take a B complex. I take a lot of supplementation. I take NMN as well, which help with mitochondria and helps with cellular regeneration. What else do I take? Gosh, I have a bunch of supplements. I also take EAA, essential amino acids, when I'm working out. I have a protein powder. And then I take my supplements on top of it, and a vitamin D. So if you're somebody who's just starting, one of the biggest things I would say, vitamin D first, I'd say now. So vitamin D would be something everybody should be taking. 80% of Canadians are deficient in vitamin D.
absolutely. Yeah.
And we are the highest ranking for MS. And part of that is due to vitamin D deficiency, so multiple sclerosis. So really looking at our Canada is, and if we think about it, especially here in Vancouver, I mean, it's gray and cloudy today. We are northern. We're in the northern part of the hemisphere, so we want to make sure we're getting that vitamin D. We have a vitamin D called Good Day Sunshine, and it has 20.
How many grams of vitamin D? Like, what's the dosage?
So 2,500 IUs is the new recommended daily amount. So that's how much you should have every single day. Now, I take 5,000 IUs a day. I take high dosages. I also live in Vancouver. When it becomes nicer out, like in the summertime, and I'm out in the sun a lot, I might not take vitamin D. I might go down to even just 1,000 IUs a day. I don't take as much because I'm getting that from the sun. But during the winter time, I tend to do a higher dosage. And ours is based in organic olive oil. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, I might sneeze there. Ours is based in organic olive oil, and but it is a gelatin. So if you are a vegan, you can do the drops as well. Now, most vitamin D comes from sheep's wool, from lanolin. So a lot of the vegans I've met through the years, they are okay with having the sheep's lanolin, because if you ever seen how happy a sheep is when you shave it, they're kind of helping the sheep out, making them not eat the meat. So they're usually okay with using the sheep lanolin, but that's usually where vitamin D comes from. There is a vegan form of vitamin D you can get, and I know there are companies that carry that as well. But so if I was to say, nutrition-wise, of course, whole foods, but if there's one supplement you have to take, like if you're like, I can't afford all of the supplements, what's something I could take? I would definitely say a vitamin D, and our Good Day Sunshine would be a great way to start.
Sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most imperative one, and the least that we, associate with when it comes to our concerns, health concerns.
And it's not expensive. Vitamin D is not expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 180 pills and you're taking one a day. It's going to last you forever. Yeah. And they're tiny too. So
yeah. Great. So next question is, when it is about weight loss for women, being a nutritionist myself, I have faced this question many times. I would want to have your point of view on that as well. So when a female who is in her perimenopause comes to me, says that in my 20s and 30s, I was doing the same diet and I was able to lose my weight. I'm doing the same things now, I'm not able to. So, and I always keep telling them, your hormones were different at that time, they're different now, and it's going to be tougher. What's your take on that? I mean, how would you explain that to somebody who's trying to lose weight and not understanding that 20s and 30s with the same diet is much easier as compared to in their 40s?
Oh, well, yeah. Our metabolism is very different in our 20s. Same as drinking. I mean, I could drink and get up the next day and be fine. I can't do that anymore. My body's different. We are changing as we get older. We're also losing muscle. Muscle is what fuels your metabolism. Muscle is what's going to guarantee what that basal metabolic rate. When I'm sitting here talking to you right now, my muscle is helping keeping me metabolically active. It's keeping my metabolism going because I have more muscle. The less muscle you have, and especially as we get older, I mean, we think about this midlife phase. We've got kids, our career full times, we've got partners, and we have and a lot of us are also in sandwich generation. We're taking care of elderly parents who are sick.
Yeah.
Putting everybody's mask on first, and we're not taking that time for ourselves to create muscle, to sustain muscle, to watch what we're eating, right? And then if we are stressed, a lot of us will stress eat and stress drink because food's always been our comfort. So we really need to look at it in a sense of how are we really supporting ourselves? And we cannot do the same thing that we did before because that's not going to work because we're not at the same phase in our life. Our workload and everything is very different than it was in our 20s when we'd go out dancing or we'd run with our friends or do all these other things, all the responsibilities we have. And stress also plays a really important role on weight gain and also your hormones as well. So during this phase, not only hormones all over the place, we all have this other stuff going on with our kids and work and whatnot, but our cortisol levels are higher. So our stress levels are higher, and that can cause cortisol belly, right? So really looking at managing stress is a big one. And as I've said several times, lifting weights, putting your own mask on first, getting the protein in, and it takes work. It does. It's not, I think that's the other thing is, we see these before and after pictures, or you see some of these ads on Meta, on Facebook and Instagram that just drive me nuts. I lost 20 pounds in a month. It's like, that is not sustainable.
I know. It's not a practical situation in most cases.
And because when you are, anytime I think you restrict yourself, I mean, I've been through every single diet under the sun, and I've spoken on a lot of them. You look at keto, you look at Atkins, look at all these different diet plans, low fat, high fat, whatever it is. Anytime you're restricting yourself, there's going to be a bounce back effect, right? Like if you're taking carbs completely out of your lifestyle, eventually you're probably going to have some carbohydrates. And I've met countless women who've done keto and have lost tons of weight and they've gained it back and then some. Because the big thing is if we can gain muscle tissue, if we can eat really consistently, and if we can lift weights, we're going to become metabolically active. Our body metabolism is going to be fueling, which is what we want it to do. And if we can understand that when we're sitting and relaxing, that our metabolism's churning because we have muscle tissue, that's what's going to help with weight loss. That's just going to help with body, like recomping, it's called, right? So your body composition is shifting. You're losing fat and gaining muscle. And in that, your body will reshape. You can weigh, there's a picture I use in my slides, and it's got, I think, like 5 different women, and they're all 150 pounds. I've
seen that. Different. Yeah, that was amazing. That was like
they look vastly different because some of them have more muscle than others. You can be 150 pounds and lean, or you can be 150 pounds and quite.
But I think this is one thing that women should really understand, because when the fixation is only towards losing weight or being slim, they don't realize that you're still going to be toned, looking much better with the same weight when you start to convert fat into muscle.
Yeah, and I say this: let's let go of this. Like, get off the scale. Stop weighing yourself if that's what you're using. Rely on your barometer of if you're losing weight or health and wellness. Use measurements, use pictures. I use pictures. But I think that's the thing, is that if we can change that idea we have. So instead of trying to lose 3 pounds, try to gain 3 pounds of muscle, which is attainable, right? In a month, we can gain 3 pounds. That's going to metabolically keep metabolism going. It's going to change your body composition. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. Plus, you've taken time for yourself to create that. So you've put your own mask on first. So that in general is going to help as well with longevity, because you're actually taking care of yourself before anybody else.
Absolutely. And so when you're talking about muscular health for women, and especially in those years, and these are the years also when, as you said, a female may be high on cortisol and experiencing all those anxiety and worry and all those negative emotions. So which means when you're building up muscle, you're not just helping your body, you're helping your mind as well. Muscle is keeping you somewhere calmer.
Your muscle is constantly communicating with your brain, right? I mean, it is, the more muscular your legs are, this is another research study that I saw recently, the more muscle you have in your leg, it actually helps prevent dementia. I mean, like, it is so intertwined, where our body is so complex and so amazing. And a lot of the time, I think we don't take care of it. We just don't. We don't honor it. We don't take care of it. And majority of us don't. And I think I want to live and be I want to be age powerfully. I want to be a kick-ass grandmother in my 80s, 90s and beyond.
That's what the aspiration should be for sure.
And you can, and it takes work. That's just, I mean, you don't go, both my brothers have PhDs. They didn't get it from a weekend course. It was a lot of work, right? And a lot of, studying and research and writing.
Yeah.
And it's the same as our bodies. We can't just, take a pill and expect to look the way we want to look.
That's true.
So
yeah.
And
okay,
even
coming back to,
I actually want to say something on this too quickly, because there's a lot of women taking Ozempic, which I think is a wonderful weight loss tool if that's something women are looking at taking.
Yeah, that's the latest trend going on, I believe.
Fully support it. I actually really do, because if you look at, if you are somebody who has chronically really struggled with food and that desire to constantly keep eating, it's going to help, help with that for one thing, but it's going to help with weight loss, which is going to help, be less prone to diabetes, which, I mean, there's some really great benefits behind it. If you're somebody who's doing Ozempic, then what you really need to make sure is you're getting that protein in and you're lifting weights, because if you don't have that muscle tissue, when you come off of Ozempic, you're going to gain it back, and then you're going to have less muscle because you've lost a lot of weight. So there's things you need to be doing within that as well. So I think if any of your listeners are on it, I support it. But I think in that, you have to be lifting the weights, doing the protein, doing all the things we've just been talking about tonight.
Muscle is central. I mean, everything comes back.
It is so essential, but nothing is wrong with using something that can help support you. I'm a big believer using all dualities to make yourself feel your best. This is your life. You don't have to worry about what anybody else says. This is your journey. So how do you live your best life, right? And that's using whatever possible is at your fingertips.
No, that's a good point. I think you raised a really nice point that should really help a lot of listeners. Yeah. So coming back to exercise, what do you think, like, when it is about muscle building or muscular health, generally it's recommended, 3 times a week is good enough, or 4 times a week is good enough, and specific forms of exercising. So I have 2 questions here. The first one is, how frequent do you think muscular work should be done weekly? Secondly, do you think yoga is a good option to build muscle, or along with yoga, you need, other forms to kind of, build up your muscle?
I think yoga is so important. I think stretching, right? I think a lot of us don't have flexibility. That's something else that ends up going out the window when we get older.
Yeah.
And also core strength, right? That engagement that you have, especially pelvic floor, that is all important. And that all really comes from using yoga as well. But I'm a big believer in not just using yoga, because there's some people who just do yoga.
Absolutely. As you said, dualities have to come together. Yeah.
Using all of them, right? So I mean, I'm not much, I have to be honest with you, I don't do yoga. My brother, believe it or not, does a lot of yoga, and he also lifts a lot of weight. He does both. And a lot of men you don't see a lot of guys doing yoga. He's really yoga. He's super flexible. But in that's one of the things he believes why he's been able to keep his activity level or his fitness. If you see him, he looks phenomenal. He's got like a full 6-pack, but he does that with yoga. He uses the combination of them both. But I do believe in lifting weights, or I had an elderly lady at one of my talks, and she uses bands, but the bands give her a good amount of resistance. It's that you want resistance. You don't want it to be like where you're just flimsing your arms up and down, right? You really want to make sure that you're actively putting your muscle into use, because when you're lifting weight, you're essentially kind of tearing those muscle tissues, right? That's what you're doing every time you're lifting weights. And then you're going to rebuild that with having protein that has those essential amino acids, because that's a building block of muscle. Your body's using that protein, doing its job, creating more muscle to keep your metabolism going, right? So that whole piece about looking at food as, food is your vehicle to get you to where you want to go, right? But in that movement, in cardio, you need to do hours a day of cardio. You don't need to do hours a day of cardio. Walk on the treadmill, on an incline, or especially nice when it's nice outside now, you can walk outside. You can put a weighted vest on if you like, to give you a little bit more of that resistance. But walking on an incline at a 3, I don't walk super fast. I'm working the whole time. I'm on my phone when I'm walking, right? So it doesn't have to be something where you're killing yourself every single day to do cardio. But if I had the choice now between cardio and lifting weights, I would do weights over cardio. So I do 15 minutes of cardio if I have to, and then 30 minutes of lifting heavy weights.
Oh,
yeah. And I do.
You recommend that doing every day, or it's like 3 to 4 times a week should be good enough?
I think 3 to 4 times a week. I tend to do it probably 5 times a week, and then I do spin, and then I also do jump training as well. So I do a plyo day, which I'm jumping. And the research right now is showing with plyometrics and jumping of some kind, you can use a rebounder as well.
Yeah.
that it can help improve bone density. So I am training now for longevity and how I'm going to be
Yeah.
my later years,
That
right?
makes sense. Yeah.
So in that, I do jump training. I do a cardio day when I do spin class because I love spin. And then I lift. I do upper body, lower body, lower body, spin. And then I'll take
Okay.
days off if I want to too.
Great. Nice. That sounds good. So I'm almost at the end of my questions. One thing, what would be your advice to the women again in perimenopausal years about, shifting their focus on self-care and all those specific strategies that can really help them deal with those years nicely and focus more on longevity. So what would be like the holistic, maybe pointers that you would want to guide women on that they should be looking holistically when it is about their health,
Yeah.
starting perimenopausal years and going forward towards longevity in the next years coming in?
Yeah, well, the book we have coming out on June 3rd, it's going to be on Amazon. It's a printed workbook. In there, I go into great details. I have a seminar I do called Navigating Perimenopause, and we go
Okay.
through everything I just talked about. We talk about creatine, why you're going to want to take creatine to help with muscle. We talk about whey protein. There's meal plans in there. So that would probably be one of my best resources because then you're going to get everything in a workbook. It's 130
Absolutely.
pages. You can track everything. There's questions to ask your doctor. So it really gives you.
Is that a book that's coming up?
Yeah, it's coming June 30th is the launch. So it's called Navigating Perimenopause. It's on Amazon
All
right
the
now.
best to you. Really look forward to
Yeah,
looking
we're doing
to
the
read
book on
the
June
book.
30th, though, and you can get a printed version. You can do digital, but it's a written book, so you want to make sure you're able to write
Yeah,
notes and whatnot. That's why we
sure.
did it that way. But that's going to give you everything you need in there because sometimes, you could be taking notes during this podcast, but then you'll put the notes
Yeah.
away, but you have something tangible that you're able to look at. So the book would be something I would tell people to look at because we have everything in there with meal plans, workouts, food choices. We talk about everything in there. And so that would be one thing. Lifting weights.
What's the title of the book, if I may ask, if you're okay
Navigating
to just
Perimenopause. Yeah, Navigating Perimenopause.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
is the title of the book. And that is on Amazon. So it is on Amazon right now. You can buy, I think it's $24.99. It's a workbook, so it's not
Okay.
super expensive. But it is, yeah, it's taken me 2 years to do it. So we just finished. Now we're finally
Sure.
launching this book into the universe. It's taken forever. But whenever I do my seminar, Navigating Perimenopause, I always have women ask for my slide notes after the show. And there's not, when I'm talking and I'm speaking, I'm doing a slideshow, I'm adding a lot of context to the slide. So it's hard to get that from just getting the slideshow from me. So that's why we chose to do the book.
Oh, okay,
So the
great.
book would be my best suggestion. I guess that would be, all the stuff we talked about today, right? Nutrition, protein, fiber, lifting heavy weights, putting your own mask on first, right? Making sure that you're taking good quality supplementation, having compassion and empathy for yourself. Nobody's perfect. We're all going through this, right? If you need a day, being able to take a day for yourself. If you're feeling anxious, talk to your medical practitioner. You don't have to go through this alone, right? There are resources there that can support you, being either, hormone replacement therapy or natural supplementation. There are definite things that can be used to make sure that you're not suffering through this 100%.
Okay, so I think you just reminded me of the last point that I wanted to ask, which was about HRT. So a lot of women still don't know what HRT is. How does it work? What is how do you incorporate it in your life? So is there anything that you would want to share about how HRT works and how do you use it?
Well, there's estradiol and progesterone. Estradiol is usually a cream. And progesterone, I take progesterone myself. So what I began to notice back in December is I had a really hard time sleeping. And usually I sleep quite well through the night. We have a sleep product that I love called Snooze, and I take it with my progesterone actually. But I personally began noticing that my sleep was really compromised. I had a lot of anxiety. And even though I know my 5 pillars, I have my cognitive behavioral therapy, course done, all that. So I knew the tools I need to put in place. I was really struggling. We checked my hormones, my progesterone was in the tank. And then my estradiol was still quite high. So I was getting my periods on a regular basis. And so my doctor wrote me a prescription for progesterone. And I'm telling you, within a day or two, it was a game changer. I sleep through the night. My anxiety dissipated. I take that in conjunction with my stress support product and my Reclaim as well. So I take all of these things together. But my biggest thing is if you are experiencing a really symptomatic menopause or perimenopause journey, to go talk to your doctor. There is a window of about 5 years in which you can start menopausal hormone therapy. So if you are somebody who is, in your 65, you're not going to be able to put on HRT. But if you are still kind of in that window, if you're still cycling, if you find that you are really experiencing a symptomatic, if you lots of anxiety, go talk to your doctor, get some testing done. A lot of the doctors won't want to test you during perimenopause because it is this hormonal chaos. A lot of the time it's hard to use lab results, blood work for that. But I'm a big believer in getting your blood work done, because the more curious you are about how your
It gives
body
a lot
is,
of clarity to what your approach should be.
it just gets you a little curious, like what is going on in my body, right? What's happening in my body?
Absolutely.
And how hormone replacement therapy works is basically you're just kind of, you're somewhat replacing that estradiol that we're losing. Because after we go through menopause, our ovaries start producing estrogen, and our adrenal glands, which is why we want to manage our stress, are then responsible for producing estrogen, also our fat cells as well. Yeah. So basically when you're going to be taking HRT, it's going to help supplement that along the way and make sure that you're getting some of that estradiol and progesterone. And men go through kind of menopause, I guess you could call it. They lose a little bit of testosterone, but not the same way we do. There's so many great books that are available right now at our tips, and there's so many incredible doctors that you can that are on Instagram, there's constant information. Just make sure who you're following is giving you the right information. Dr. Jen Gunter is a really great one. I like Dr. Mary Claire Haver as well. Kelly Kirkpatrick. There's some really great doctors out there talking about hormone therapy, but at the end of the day, work with a health practitioner and find out what works best for you. Right. So not everybody wants to be on HRT, and that's okay too. You're not missing the boat if you're not on it. You can find natural supplementation that will work for you as well. We have a product coming out called Menopause. It helps with menopausal therapy, menopausal symptoms, and that's coming out probably in 2026. So, but there are supplements on the market that can help with that too.
Amazing. Good work. I mean, I must say, it's like best thing that I like about, again, is, you have supplement brand, but you're talking everything together, holistic. It's not just, you're not just saying it's one product miracle, which is not what it is.
No, and I think that in my industry, and I'll admit that, there's kind of this villainization that we've done against the medical community, and I'm a very big believer in using whatever it takes to make yourself feel best, right? Like I met a lady a while ago, and she was at a talk, and she came up to me after, and she said, I've been on antidepressants since I was younger. I've had an issue with depression. I know I shouldn't be on them. And I'm like, yes, you should. Nothing's wrong with being on antidepressants. Like nothing's wrong with that, right? This is your life. What balances you and makes you feel your best? And she was suffering from brain fog. And she said, I just can't, I have this brain fog and I can't take natural supplementation because they contraindicate with antidepressants. And I was like, try creatine. I mean, the research is there with creatine with brain health, and it's not going to contraindicate, and muscle health, right? So, but I think the narrative that, the medical community is bad and we're good because we're natural is...
No, it's again, it has dualities do exist, and sometimes you get the best with dualities.
Yes, and it's whatever works for you, and this is your journey and your life and your one chance. So live it the best way possible, whatever works for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aeryon. I think I'm done with my questions. Anything that you would want to add on before we end up the session?
Well, if you're curious about Aeryon Wellness products, you can visit our website, www.aeryonwellness.com. So it's AERYON wellness.com. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We are on TikTok, which I'm trying to do a lot more of. And then we also have an email list as well. So subscribe and you're going to get updated on the new products that we have coming out. And also the book launch is on June 3rd. So, join us for our watch party. We have amazing doctor, a pelvic floor specialist, is going to be talking for about 15 minutes. We have Jocelyn Ladlow, who's a CTV reporter. And then we have Linda Biggs from Joni Menstrual Care coming on as well, just to talk about all things perimenopause and menopause. So I hope your listeners will join us.
Definitely. That makes me curious as well. So I hope I'm there, definitely. And all the best to you for whatever you're doing, amazing work that you're doing. And thank you so much for coming over and talking about all of these things today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.